Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Gurave Sarvalokanam Vishaje Bhavarogina Nidhaye Sarva Vidyana Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. So, come to the final session of the discussion on this Upanishad, the final section of the second chapter. Now, the question which Nachiketa had asked, Yama has already answered them. Now, what he does in this concluding chapter is just summarizes everything, reinforces the important point. It's just like a winding up process. Now, the conversation is coming to an end. It just picks all the important things which he has already spoken, gives a little bit different examples here and there, and then emphasizes on the things which really need to be focused on. It's like, if you've got children who are going to the university or leaving their house and going to a hostel or university, you will know have packed for 2 days, 3 days, everything. And then half an hour before they go, you say, have you taken this? Have you taken that? Have you not forgotten this? Oh, I took your favorite jumper out for a wash and then I kept it on your table. Did you pack it in? So all sorts of things come at the last minute. This chapter is a little bit like that. Yama will be saying something as if he suddenly remembers something else, he puts something else in there so that he should not forget it later on. Now we do this as well, isn't it? We are talking about something, suddenly we remember something. Oh, I might forget if I don't do it straight away. So we say, before I forget, let's me do this. Like this, Yama puts in a few things here and there, which may not go with the flow sometimes, but which are very important. So he begins with another example. Now, he gave an example first of the chariot, which is a very popular example, saying that, the chariot is the body, the horses are the senses, the reins are the mind. Okay, and then he gave another example of the city with 11 gates. Just now he's giving one more way. So the same thing which has been told now is trying to say in a much more slightly different way to emphasize the points. So what he's saying this,
ऊर्ध्वमूलः अवाक्शाकः एषः अश्वत्थः सनातनः तदेव शुक्रं तद् ब्रह्म तदेव अमृतम् उच्यते तस्मिन् लोकाः सर्वे श्रिताः ततौ अत्येति न कश्चन एतत् वैतत्. Now this example of an inverted people tree you can see in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita as well. So Krishna has just lifted it from here. But here Yama talks about this very briefly, but Krishna has actually elaborated on it. So what he's saying, Urdhva Mulaha Avakshakaha. The roots are upwards towards the sky and the branches are moving downwards towards the earth. Yesha Ashwatha Sanatahana. This ancient people tree, Tadeva Shukram Tad Brahma Tadeva Amritam Uchyate Tasmin Sarve Lokashrita Tatau Atyeti Na Kaschana. What is he referring this to? He's saying that alone is pure, that is Brahman, that is eternal. In it all the worlds exist, nothing can transcend that, and this is that. What is the relationship between this tree and the Brahman is saying? First of all, the people tree. People tree begins as a small sapling, but it can grow into a huge tree. It can occupy a wide space with hundreds and thousands of branches and innumerable leaves. And however huge this tree trunk is, the branches and leaves are, the source of this tree is hidden under the ground in the roots. So, hidden under the ground is the source of the tree. What you see outside depends upon the health of the root. If you want the tree to flourish, then you have to nourish the root. And if you want to kill the tree, you just have to expose the root. Starve the root and the tree will wither away and die. Nourish the root, the tree will flourish. But this root is hidden, is unseen. But what you see is the stem, the leaves, the branches. So this is the tree of samsara. This tree which you see above the ground is the manifest world, the prakriti. And what is unseen, the root, that is the purusha, that is the unmanifest consciousness. So this is one aspect of it. What? The huge tree of samsara has emerged from where? From the root, which is the pure consciousness. That which you see, the material world, the root of it, the source of it is hidden. What is hidden is something which is subtle. What you can see is something which is gross. Isn't it? Because what all you can perceive through the senses are limited to the capacity of the senses. And that which is beyond the senses, beyond the mind, beyond the intellect, is the subtlest one, the unseen. So the unmanifest consciousness here symbolically is represented by the unseen root. Now why the inverted? The roots going to the sky and the branches coming to the earth. Usually it is the other way around. The root goes deep into the earth and the branch goes towards the sky. The root, the source, is subtle. The subtleness is expressed by the sky element. So the root is towards the sky, means the subtle one. The source is subtle. And the earth is the grossest among the 5 elements. The last element to be formed is the earth. So the branches are coming down, means all that is manifest, the farther and farther away from the root, the grosser and grosser it is. And not only that, it also shows that all our understanding has been so far upside down. If you want the tree to flourish, you have to nourish the root. But we don't know the root at all. So we are trying to get everything from the tree by trying to feed the tree, by trying to feed the branches, trying to feed the leaves. That's how our connection with the world is. There is a problem with the world, or we are experiencing something, try to fix this thing, that thing, this thing. Instead of going to the root cause of it, you're just trying to pick up here and there. That will work for a few minutes and then it will go away. So, one who is wise, who knows the source, who attends to the source, he will make sure that even the tree can be nourished. Isn't it? And look, all our priorities are also the physical body is the farthest from the source. And it is the most inert part of our existence. The least alive part of the existence is this physical body. But this gets the most importance in our life. And what are we afraid of? This body perishing. We are so scared of the death of something which is already dead, has got no life at all. The life in it is because of the prana that is moving in. Is because of the mind that is trying to use it as a vehicle to fulfill its desires. When the mind is disinterested in it, that's it, this body is gone. The prana moves out and the mind moves out. The subtle body goes. But for us, this is the most real thing. Why? Because it's the most gross and most easily comprehensible by the senses. That which can be perceived easily by the senses, we think that is the most real one. So he says, no. The subtle one is most real. This is unreal. And look at our priorities in life. Gurudev gave this very beautiful example in one of the talks in the Bhakti Sutras. He says, he shows a cup and says, what is more precious in this cup? The material from which the cup is made or the space which the cup holds? Yeah. So it is the space which is more valuable, because without that space, we give a lump of steel or a lump of clay, it is useless, absolutely. The utility for that cup comes from the space, right? But what do we value in life? We value the material, isn't it? So a clay cup is cheaper than a silver cup, which is cheaper than a gold cup. The space is the same in all the cups. The utility is the same. But that matter which holds utility changes, and then we put value to the matter, but we ignore the space. And that is what here Yama is saying, that is inverted people. The tree of samsara is inverted. You got all your priorities wrong. Samsara is the source of your misery, but you are holding it as if it's a source of joy. The spirit is the source of joy, but you are completely forgetting it. So this inverted people, to one who understands this aspect of existence, the subtle is hidden, the subtle is the source, and from the subtle comes everything. And that is says, this alone is pure. It means the subtle one. The root is pure. This is Brahman. This is immortal. In it all worlds exist. However big may be the trunk, how many ever branches and leaves and flowers and fruits may come, where they all exist in a subtle way, they all existed in that root. And it is whatever the nourishment that comes to the root, it feeds on to this and then makes it all happen. None transcends it. Means nothing in that big creation of the tree can escape the support of the root. However farthest the branch or the flower is from the root, still it is the root only which nourishes it. Similarly, it is the consciousness alone which illuminates everything in this Prakriti. Whether it is the Antahkarana, whether it is the Prana, whether it is the three bodies, whether it is the senses, whatever it is, all that is by this hidden, unseen consciousness which keeps it all alive. So nothing can escape it, which means none transcends it. Without it, nothing can exist. Etat vaitat. This is that. And this shloka is from the Bhagavad Gita 15. This is not from the Katnopnishad. Krishna goes a step further. What does he say? Na rupam asyeha tatopa labhyate, na anto, na cha adir, na cha sampratishta. The real form of this tree of samsara, most people do not understand. Nobody knows, or nobody tries to find its beginning or its end or in its current existence. We never question why the world is like that, why it considers all this as real. We just take it as granted because we've been conditioned. So he says, nobody ever knows how it all came into existence, how this will end, and what is its true identity right now. Nobody knows. Ashwattam enam suvirudha moolam asanga shastrena dridena chitva. This Suviruda Moolam, this deep rooted tree of samsara, which is vast and overwhelming, Asanga means dispassion, Vairagya, Asanga Shastrena Drudena Chitva. Oh Arjuna, you need to cut this firmly with the axe of dispassion. Why is Krishna asking you to cut this tree of samsara? What does this tree represent? It represents the material world, all the objects. In our life, we are lost in the objects. We are lost in the form. What is your mind filled with? Just look into it. Just objects and objects and objects, isn't it? And what do you do when you meditate? You slowly clear off all these objects, isn't it? When all the objects are cleared, what remains is you. This is the Neti technique of the Upanishads. Not this, not this, not this, not this. And when all the things which you thought you was your identity, you drop them, then what remains, that is you. Awareness of the objects will conceal the awareness of yourself. Only when you move your awareness from the objects, then you can move towards the self. That is what Krishna means by cut the tree off. As long as you keep seeing the tree, you will see the tree, then you will see the branches, then you will see the flowers, fruits, the bird sitting here. And every time you see something, something triggers, another form comes up in your mind. Your mind is completely bombarded by the repeated information you are getting from these objects. And the mind is helpless. Anything the senses give it to, it starts processing it. The mind processes, the intellect tries to understand, the memory tries to store it, and the intellect says, oh, I am seeing this, I am experiencing this. You have to cut this chain. That is cutting the tree. He says, first withdraw from all the forms. Only when you empty your mind of all the forms, you'll be able to see the formless. So, Ashwattam enam suviruda moolam asanga shastrena dridena chitva. After cutting this tree with the axe of dispassion, tatah padam tat paramargitavyam. Then one should seek the root of this tree, the source of this tree. Yasmin gata na nivartanti bhuyaha. One who actually finds the source, finds the root, does not have to return to this mortal world. As long as your investment is something which is mortal, you will remain mortal. As long as you put all your energies in something that is finite, you will never attain infinite. So, tameva chadyam purusham prapadye yatah pravritti prasrita purani. This ancient eternal Purusha, that is the unmanifest consciousness, surrender to this prapadye. Seek in its refuge. Seek its protection. Go and surrender to it. Yatah pravrittihi prasrita, from whom all these tendencies are overflowing, are coming out. From this root only all this has come out. From this consciousness only this mind has come out. From this mind only all this information is being processed and bombarded to you. The source of all this Prakriti, you seek its root and surrender to it. Why? Once you surrender to it, once you find and surrender to it, you will not have to return back. Because you are surrendering to something which is immortal, and that by surrendering to it, you attain its quality. Whatever you invest your life in, that becomes your quality, character. See, ignorance is in your mind. Enlightenment is also in the mind only. Whatever you fill your mind with, that is what you become. Here he is saying, focus on the unmanifest, focus on the eternal, focus on the spirit, and its quality slowly will become you. If you remember the last shloka in the last class, he said, like pure water poured into pure water, they merge and become one. Similarly, if your mind is freed from its impressions, merges with the self, it becomes the self. यदिदं किंच जगत् सर्वं प्राणे एजति निसृतं महद् भयं वज्रम् उद्यताम् एतत् ये एतत् विदुः अमृताः ते भवन्ति भयात् अस्य अग्नि तपति भयात् तपति सूर्यः भयात् इन्द्रः च वायुः मृत्युः धावति पंचम. This is another poetic way of putting a fact across. What is the fact? The self has the highest authority. It controls everything. The movement of the planets, the movement of the sun, the stars, the position of everything, the movement of your breath, the movement, the digestion that is happening, everything that is happening in the world is controlled by it. This is the highest authority. So he says, Yadidam kincha jagat sarvam, whatever you perceive as creation, prane ejati nisritam, arises from that and is kept alive by the prana that flows through this creation. Mahat bhayam vajra mudyatam. See, when a thunderbolt, when a lightning, you see that two things happen. One, there is a wow feeling because it is so beautiful and wonderful. That lightning, at the same time, it is very scary. It has so much power, it can destroy you in a second. At the same time, it is so magnificent. So it is just like that. Mahat bhayam vajra mudyatam. Like a thunderbolt, it instills great fear in you. Ya etat viduhu amrita te bhavanti. One who knows this source, he becomes immortal. So here the thunderbolt is shown as a symbol of authority, as a symbol of power, a symbol of what you call respect, amazement, at the same time fear, authority. And he goes a step further and says what? Bhayatasya agni tapati. In its fear, the fire burns. In its fear, the sun shines. In its fear, all the gods do their work properly. And not only that, me, Mrityu, I also run around in its fear. So it's a very nice way of saying that we all are puppets in his hand. He is controlling us. He is the highest authority. Whatever he says, we have to follow. There is no other way. See, gravity you can see as a power as well as an attraction, isn't it? You can't escape gravity. At the same time, you can also see it as the love of the earth to you. Similarly, the divine is all powerful, at the same time all caring and loving. Like a thunderbolt, it is powerful. Like the gravity, it is holding you. It is holding everything in position in this universe. Everything is in its place. Everything is in order because of this. This insight is so important. That's why he says, Ya etat viduhu amrita te bhavanti. One who realizes the power that is there in this existence. One seed knows which part should become the root, which part should become the stem. The root should go down, the stem should come up, the stem should be brown, the leaf should be green, the flower should be red, the fruit should be... this happens continuously without any imperfection, again and again and again. How much intelligence must be there within that one seed? Similarly, one cell of a human being, there is the intelligence into which part should become eyes, which should become nose, which should become head. And this also happens continuously. The earth is rotating on its axis. The axis is slightly tilted. That is for a purpose so that earth can stay in that orbit. Even a half a degree this way or that way, earth will miss the orbit and get destroyed. Who makes this perfection? That intelligence, one who realizes this intelligence, that is also me, that is also running this life. It is through which I am getting the words to speak. It is through that you are listening and perceiving and understanding. Neither I am speaking nor you are understanding. It is the power which is speaking, that is the power which is understanding. One who realizes that, he becomes immortal. Iha chet ashakta bodhum prak sharirasya visrasaha tatah sargeshu lokeshu shariratvaya kalpate. After explaining all this, he says, look, I've told you so much. Right now, if you don't realize this truth of existence, this knowledge of the self, before this body drops, before you die, Before this body drops, if you don't invest in understanding this aspect of your existence, then Sargeshu Lokeshu, in this created world, in this world of the elements, Sharirattvaya Kalpate, you become eligible to take another body. This is another very ironical way of saying that. It's like a jailer telling the prisoner, if you don't behave properly, you can freely stay for another few years. There is no freedom. You want freedom. If you say, I'm going to misbehave, then you stay bound even longer. So here he's saying, before this body drops, if you don't focus on this which is eternal, then there is no choice but you have to come back again. There is no freedom because you're controlled by the karma. You're controlled by the elements. This is very important. Why? When will you move towards the spirit? Only when you are fed up of the world or you have seen the reality of this samsara. The irony or the tragedy of our life is most of us don't want freedom. What is mumukshatva? Mumukshatva is an intense desire for freedom. And there is a story. A disciple comes to a guru and says, I want to become free. Please initiate me. He says, okay, do this, do that, do this, do that. A few years pass by and then he says, I'm moving nowhere. This guru is not teaching me anything. He taught me some pranayama. He taught me some bastrika. He's asking me to go to that, do and that seva project, go engage here, do this, do that, arrange this course. But why? This is all more bondage for me. When am I going to get freedom? So one day the guru and the disciple are having a bath in the river. Then he asks, Gurudev, I think you are not being fair to me. You are not. What did I come here for a few years ago and what have you teaching? You have not taught me anything. I have asked you to help me to attain freedom. The guru looks at him and then he takes his head and pushes it under the water. And then does not let him come up. Holds it there for and when he realizes he can no longer be alive, then he brings him up. Then he comes up and says, what are you doing? Why are you trying to kill me? And then he says, when you were there under the water, what did you want? What did you want? He said, I just wanted one breath of air. And how badly did you want it? Oh, with all my being, I wanted this. And when you want freedom in that intensity, then you will get it. So this intensity of wanting that freedom is called mumukshutva. Until that arises in you, the self will not reveal itself to you. You may listen to so many talks, you may read so many books, but unless that intensity of desire, that mumukshutva comes in you, you will never attain to the knowledge of the self. And for that, you need the viveka and vairagya. Unless you can turn away from the world, when the axe is given, you are ready to cut the tree of samsara. Only then you will be able to seek, you become eligible, qualified to seek the root. For most people, they don't want to let go of samsara. They just want the samsara to be a little bit more bearable, that's all. Upanishads say, come, we are going to take you to a place where there is no misery. Then you say, no. I like a little bit of misery, otherwise there is no identity for me. So little there, but make it a little bit bearable, that's all. If I go to Tirupati, we can lock me in the cage, but just 1 or 2 hours. Don't lock me forever. 1 or 2 hours I can wait and then have darshan, I will come off. I am not asking you not to lock me. The existence saying, I will take you straight through the main door. You say, no, I'm happy. Just lock me for 2 hours. I can stay for 2 hours. But don't make it 10 hours, 12 hours. I will become frustrated. That is our attitude. I don't want freedom. I want this samsara. But the samsara should be smooth. The guru comes to you and says, come, I'm here to take you to the other shore. He said, I don't want to go to the other shore. You come to this shore and sort this problem, that problem, this problem. This is the problem. And he says, if this mumukshutva is not there in you, you are not even qualified to listen to this knowledge. And even if you listen to this, it will not take you anywhere. Yes, maybe you'll be a little bit more healthier. You may sleep a little bit better. You may be a little bit more fitter. Your stress levels may come down a little bit. but there is no transformation. You are still stuck in the samsara. He explains this even more as you go in the few more shlokas. How? Why does he say you have to do it now? See, earlier he said in one of the shlokas, if you remember, that this human birth is like a bridge. Setu, he said. Between bondage and enlightenment, the human body is a bridge. Even the devas are not enlightened. They may have more privileges. They may have access to higher dimensions of life, but they are not free. They are also bound. So even the devas, when they want to become enlightened, they have to come through a human body only. So this human body is so precious. So he says, this you have already got now. Why don't you make use of it? I was listening to one of the talks some other day, and then there the orator says very beautifully, when you die, God will not meet you with a book and say, these are the mistakes you made, this is what you did. He will ask you, I gave you so many gifts, why did you not use them to be happy? And what will you answer God at that point? I got stuck in this thing, this thing, this thing. So here it is, before this body drops, if you don't realize, you are a fool. And then you will come back again and again. Now here he explains a little bit more. He says, Yata adarshe tata atmani, yata swapne tata pitruloke, yata apsupari ivad adrishe tata gandharva loke, chaya tapayo iva brahmaloke. Very beautiful way of explaining. Yata adarshe tata atmani. Just like your reflection is hidden in the mirror, the self is hidden in you. Yatha swapne tata pitruloke. Now, before you understand, you need to understand the lokas. In the scriptures, they mention 14 worlds, 14 lokas. There are 7 urdhva lokas, the 7 lokas which are the higher worlds, and 7 adho lokas, the lower worlds. Human being lives in the first higher loka. If you do Gayatri mantra, they will say Om Bhuhu, Om Bhuvaha, Om Suvaha, Om Janaha, Om Mahaha, Om Tapaha, Om Satyam. These are the 7 lokas. Bhuhu is where the human beings are. And all the adho lokas are all there. Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Patala, Rasatala, Talatala, Pata, all these things are there. These are all lower and lower levels of awareness. The Rakshasas, the animals, the plants, trees, finally the rocks, all this like that, in that the worms, these are the lower lokas. So in these lokas, the first loka is the bhuloka, and above that loka is the loka of the ancestors, bhuvaha, ancestors of loka, the pitru loka. Above that is the suvaha, swarga loka, where the devas are there. Devas means the subtle deities which run this existence, which include devas, gandharvas, kinnaras, yakshas, all these will be there. And above them is the loka of the sadhaka. And above them is the loka of sadhaka who has attained samadhi, it's called mahar. Om Mahaha, he says. And then above that is the loka of somebody who has attained vairagya, dispassion. And above that, the final loka is that of one who has realized the knowledge, the jnani, the guru. That is called Satya Loka or Brahma Loka. Now, depending upon your sadhana, depending upon the merit, you reach to these different levels as you leave this body. In the Gita also, Krishna speaks about Devayana and Pitrayana. He says, if you leave this body with the breath moving out through the right nostril, you go to what's called as Pitrayana. You go to that Pitruloka, where your ancestors are there. People you have missed and people who have missed you, you go and meet and spend some time and really all those anxieties, all those tears you shed for the people who have gone, and all their longing for you that they didn't spend enough time with you, that will be fulfilled. And you will come back with their blessings. Once that merit is lost, you will come back to the world, you will be born again, but you will be born with all their blessings. You will get a much better life. That is Pitrulok. And he says, if your breath passes through the left nostril when you leave this body, then you go to the Devayana, Devaloka. the heaven, where you have access to all the pleasures. You wanted so many pleasures in this life, but you are not able to attain to all of them. All that is given to you in plenty. So you need little bit higher merit to go into Devalok. And then he says to be a sadhak, you are already above the devas. A sadhak goes to a loka above the devas. And in the Devaloka only we have all these Gandharvas and all those people. Above that is the sadhaka, a sincere, a mumukshu, one who has an intense thirst for realization, for freedom. That is the next loka. And then among that sincere seeker, one who can experience samadhi, one who has attained to samadhi, he goes like this. The different lokas. Here he says, as you can see a reflection in the mirror, as the reflection is trapped in the mirror, not trapped, is hidden in a mirror, the self is hidden in you. You have the ability to access it. It is in your intellect. If you think, no, I will do through karma yoga, I will do through karma, through actions and rituals, what happens? You get little merit and then you go to Pitruloka. In the Pitruloka, the chance of you getting knowledge is like a dream. Because all the people you find there are samsaris only, your ancestors. They missed you, you missed them. They had so many things that they have wanted to do with you, you wanted to do so many things. So it is only a samsara, a bigger samsara with slightly higher, better facilities, that's all. So as in a dream, so is Pitruloka. In a Pitruloka, if you think you will get there and then you'll only have a little bit of contentment, some happiness, but you won't get knowledge there. As in water in the world of Gandharvas. So if you go to Swargaloka, or the Loka of Gandharvas are the ones who are very skilled in fine arts. So in the Gandharva Loka, you will have Picasso painting for you every day. A.R. Rahman's music playing his piano for you. So the highest of the highest pleasures which the senses can behold will be given to you. But even in the Gandharva Loka, the chances of getting knowledge is like a reflection seen on the surface of water. The chances are less. Even if you get it, it can be lost very quickly. Chaya tapayo iva brahmaloka. When you go to the brahmaloka with the satyaloka or the land of the enlightened, there it is, the knowledge is as clear as shadow and light. How you can easily differentiate between light and shadow, you can differentiate between ignorance and knowledge. So it is easiest to get knowledge in brahmaloka. However, getting there requires a very high level of tapas. Getting there is not easy. If you get there, then you are done. It is easy to get to the Pitruloka, but there is no point. Maybe a little bit more difficult, but still you will get to Swarga also. But still you will not become free. All the devas are bound by pleasure. So there is no freedom there also. Only in the company of the enlightened, in the company of gurus, you will have the chance. But getting that is not easy. Do you see this? Getting this body is so precious because even the devas need to take this body to become free. And just having this body is not enough. You need to find a path. You need to get the right guidance. And you need to get the guru. All that you have right now. So you better make use of this rather than going to something else. Indriyanam pratak bhavam. See, in the last shloka, in the previous chapter, he said, what is here is there. One who sees the difference who goes from death to death. But here he is saying, senses are different to the self. You should have the discrimination, the viveka, to separate the self from the non-self. Udayastav mayauchaya, because they rise and fall. Pratak utpadya mananam, they all have different sources. You see the senses? The sense of taste or the tongue is attached to the water element. Sound to the ear. Sound is to the ears, the hearing senses. The touch is to the air element. The sight is to the fire element. The smell is associated to the earth element. So they all have different origins. And they all can't interchange their action. You can't see through your nose. So they have all fixed activities. So they are all different and separate. But what do? They all feed to the mind. So the mind can perceive all of them at the same time, though they are all different. And then beyond the mind is the self. The self is the one which is giving the mind this power. So these manifested existence, the material existence, has different origins, perform different functions. Don't mistake it for the self. They rise and fall. Means they are born, they change, they grow, they decay, and they die. Don't mistake that which is born and dies to that which does not, which is never born and never dies. Matva dhiraha na shochati. One who knows the difference between the self and the non-self, he will be free from misery. He will not moan or complain. Indriyebhyah param manaha manasah sattvam uttamam sattvat adhimahan atma mahatah avyaktam uttamam. So he has told this before, he is reinforcing this again. He says, higher than the senses is the mind. Higher than the mind is the intellect or buddhi. And higher than the buddhi is the intellect is what? Mahat. Mahat here means the Hiranyagarbha, the source of creation. And Mahatah avyaktam uttamam. Beyond that is the unmanifest of the causal body. Avyaktat parah purusha. Beyond the causal body is the Brahman. Avyaktam, the unmanifest. Purushaha. Vyapakaha alinga evacha. This Purusha is all pervading. Alinga. Linga means form. It is all pervading and formless like the sky. Yam gnatva muchyate jantuhu amrutatvam cha gacchati. Yam gnatva. One who knows this, which is the source of everything, he becomes free and attains immortality. Na sandrishe tishtati rupamasya na chakshusha pashyati kaschana enam hrida manisha manasa abhikriptaha etat viduhute amrita bhavanti. Na sandrishe tishtati rupamasya. You can't see it with these two eyes. You need the third eye. When Arjuna asked Krishna, I want to see your real form. Is there something beyond what I am seeing? He said, okay, you can't see me through these two eyes, Arjuna. I will give you a different vision. He gives him the Jnana Chakshu, the eyes of intuition, the eyes of knowledge. And through that, Arjuna is able to see. So here he says, its form does not exist within the remit of this ordinary eyes. Na chakshusha pashyati kaschana enam hrida manisha manasa abhikriptaha. When the mind is held by the intellect, usually the mind tries to override the intellect. But when the intellect has a say over the mind, when the mind has a say over the senses, then you get the ability for that stillness in your life. In that stillness, in that silence, there you realize the self. And one who knows this becomes immortal. Ya etat vidhute amrita bhavanti. One who sees this hierarchy of the aspects of creation which are closer and closer to the self and starts withdrawing from the external and moves towards the subtler and subtler, he is the one who recognizes the immortal self and he becomes immortal. Yada pancha avatishtante gnanani manasa saha buddhi chana vicheshtati tam ahuhu paramam gatim. Now suddenly he takes a different track and starts speaking about a little bit yoga. He says, maybe, I forgot to tell you this. He says, when the senses stop craving for the sense objects, and when the senses rest, they don't feed the mind. So the mind also settles down. Buddhi chana vicheshtati. When the mind settles down, the intellect does not have to work to try to figure out what is happening. When the intellect also stops interfering, then the state that you attain is the highest. This is the state of Nirvitarka Samadhi. The senses are quiet, mind is quiet, intellect is still. Tam yoga miti manyate. This is called yoga. Sthiram indriya dharanam apramattah tada bhavati. When the senses are in control, are steady, mind is free from its outgoing tendencies, But however, Nachiketa, yoga hi prabhava api ayuhu, apyayuhu. Even this is not steady. Even this state of Nirudarka Samadhi comes and goes. It is not always there. It all depends upon the state of the mind, how you are able to manage this mind. That is much you might get into Samadhi. You are still in the fifth loka with Samadhi. You still have to attain two more to reach the self. न एव वाचा न मनसा प्राप्तुं शक्यः न चक्षुषा अस्ति इति ब्रुवतः अन्यत्र कथं तत् उपलभ्यते. Now Nachiketa asks, probably, it doesn't say, but it looks like he is asking. You say you can't explain it in words, the mind can't perceive it, the eyes can't see it, but still it exists. How do you attain this which exists? So Yama says, Asti iti eva upalabdavyaha tattva bhavena cha ubayo. Very beautiful. First have faith that it exists. You know deep inside it exists. You can't deny that. The more and more you get rid of the impressions in your mind, the more and more clear your mind becomes, then the more and more you start feeling the presence. Now today we were doing the meditation. The moment you fix your eyes or the vision or the focus on the third eye, suddenly your attention stops going out and automatically the attention starts moving in. Have you noticed that? So he says, by knowing that it exists, how? By dropping the impressions, by clearing the impressions through your sadhana, the experience of understanding or realizing the self follows. Only by knowing that it exists, it becomes easy to experience. If you start off with, I don't know whether it's there or not, then you will be stuck in the external. Start off with the faith that it exists, follow the technique given to you, and then suddenly you see that it opens in front of you. Yada sarve pramuchyante kama ye asya hridi shritaha atah martya amritah bhavati atra brahma samashnute. Yada sarve pramuchyante. When all these concepts are dropped, kama ye asya hridi shrita, and all the desires fall away. See, there are two things. Either drop all the desires for small little things or desire for the highest. Your desiring for the highest is mumukshatva. Your dropping off of the desire for the lowest is vairagya. Both are okay, but don't stay in between. Atha martya amrita bhavati. Martya is the mortal, amrita is immortal. At that point, when either you develop this intense desire for the highest or the desire for the lowest drops off, then the mortal is on the right path to become immortal. Atra Brahma Samashnute. At that point, you will become eligible to realize the Brahman, the unmanifest consciousness, the pure consciousness. Yada sarve prabidyante hridayasya iha grantayaha. The knots of the heart are shattered. What is this knot of the heart? This is mentioned in many Upanishads. What is this knot? The manifest and the unmanifest have come together and there is a knot and you're confused one for the other. In ignorance, when there is a confusion of one over the other, there is like a knot that is inside you. When there is clarity in your mind of what is permanent, what is impermanent, what is matter, what is spirit, then this knot separates out. The space hidden in the knot reveals and the knot falls off. When this knot is shattered, then mortal becomes immortal. Ye tatvat anushasram. This alone is the teaching. See, just putting the final touches. This is all you need to remember. There is the manifest, there is the unmanifest. Don't mix them up. It becomes a knot in your heart. Know how to separate them, keep them together, and see the manifest as an appearance in the unmanifest. And then hold on to the unmanifest, hold on to the spirit, and then you become immortal. Because spirit is immortal and you are that. Shatam cha eka cha hridayasya nadayah tasam murdhvanam abhinashrita eka taya urdhvam ayanam amrutatvam eti vishwak anya utkramane bhavanti. Now he is saying why sadhana is essential. Through the power of yoga, what do? There are 101 nadis, he says. There are so many energy channels in this body. Among them, one travels to the crown of the head. See, Krishna says, if the energy travels to the right nostril, you go to the Pitraloka. To the left, to Devaloka. Try, goes right in the middle, goes to Brahmaloka. This is what here he is saying. Among them, one travels to the crown of the head. Moving through this, one attains immortality. The yoga helps you in moving through this. Moving through the others, you will attain different worlds. If you move through others, then all this among the 14 worlds, you can be scattered anywhere else, depending upon where you go, where your energies are. Angushta matra purushah antaratma sada jananam hridaye sannivishtaha. This unmanifest consciousness, this divinity or God, what you call, appears in the heart of a yogi as a flame which is a thumb size. It is ever seated in the heart region, glowing brilliantly. Tam shvar sharirat pravihita. See, this is separate as from the physical body. Munjativa ishikam dhairyena. Just like the grain and the stalk can be separated. Similarly, this body and the spirit are not the same. Tam vidyat shukram amritam, tam vidyat shukram amritam iti. When you know him, that is pure and immortal. Tam vidyat. Know that he or that is pure and immortal. That is pure and immortal. Usually, when they conclude something, it is told twice. So here, by telling twice, here saying that is the one what you are seeking, Nachiketa. What is it that you said will travel beyond death? That is him or it. Know that as pure and immortal, not this body. Separate it from this body like the grain and the stalk can be separated. And then know it as pure and immortal. Mrityu proktam nachiketa atalabdva vidyam etam yoga vidim cha kritsnam. Thus, Nachiketa was advised by Yama, and after hearing to Yama, Nachiketa attained to the highest loka. What did he attain? This knowledge of the self, yoga vidhim, vidyam etam, yoga vidhim cha. Not only he learned the ritualistic part, the action part, the yoga aspect of it, he also attained the knowledge of the self. Brahma prapto virajo abhuta vimrutyuhu. He attained to the self, to the Brahman. Virajo, not virajo, virajo, became free from the gunas, vimrutyuhu, free from death as well. Anyo api evam yo with adhyatmam eva. Anybody can attain what Nachiketa attained. Just follow what the path Yama has laid out. So here he gives hope to everybody. It can be done. First he said, here now is the best option. If you wait to go to Pitraloka, Svargaloka and all, it will be delayed. Right now you have got all the faculties. You got everything. You are in the path, you got a guru, you got the techniques. Now is the way. Now is the time. If Nachiketa can have it, you can also have it. All you have to do is be as focused as Nachiketa was. Be as disciplined as he was. And be as steadfast and desirous of the highest as he was. And then everything will follow. By knowing it exists, it will follow. The experience will follow. Be committed to that, and that experience of the self will follow. Om Namah Shivaya. This is a wonderful, wonderful Upanishad. So I would want you to go through this a few times, again and again and again. Almost all the questions will be answered in this. As Gurudev was speaking in that video, it is the duality which is the source of your misery. The moment one, you think it as more than one, that's it, you are stuck. And when you bring your scattered mind into this moment, you are free, you are happy. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्. लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु, लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु, लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. हरिः ओम्. श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः. हरिः ओम्.